Welcome back to the Microgrid Minute. For anyone in California thinking about solar, this is really important. This is NEM 3.0,
It is.
and we want to make sure you really understand it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are, maybe a little nervous about what it all means. Like, is solar even a good investment anymore here?
Right.
That's the big question.
It is a big question, and we're going to dive into that today.
We are. So maybe we should start by, just saying like, okay, NEM 3.0 is here. It's the new reality. What's changed?
Yeah.
What's different?
The biggest change is how solar owners are compensated for, the extra power they send back to the grid.
Okay.
Before, it was, pretty generous, which made solar like a super attractive investment.
Right.
But with NEM 3.0, those rates are, well, they've dropped significantly.
Like how much are we talking?
We're talking about 75%, even more in some cases.
75%.
Wow.
It's a big change. So does that mean solar is like dead in California?
No, not at all. It's just, well, it's more nuanced. It's interesting, actually.
Right.
NEM 3.0 has made those solar-only systems, not quite as financially attractive, but it's made solar plus battery storage like way more attractive than before.
Wait, hold on. Explain that to me. How does that work?
So it has to do with time of use rates, TOU.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that.
So under NEM 3.0, the price you pay for, electricity from the grid, it changes throughout the day.
Right.
So it's cheaper during those like off-peak hours, the middle of the day, and then it gets more expensive like during peak hours, usually evenings.
Okay, so let me guess.
Mhm.
The battery lets you store that cheaper solar energy and then use it when the grid's really expensive.
You got it. Exactly.
Yeah.
You're basically, creating your own mini power plant.
That's pretty cool.
It is. It gives you more control and, saves you money.
So instead of sending that extra solar back to the grid for a lower rate, I can store it.
Yes.
Use it when it's worth more.
Exactly.
That's clever.
It is. And in some cases, you can even sell some of that stored energy back to the grid during those like peak hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like a premium price.
Yeah.
You could earn up to $3 per kilowatt hour.
Wow. So you're not just saving money, you could actually make money.
You could. It's kind of a game changer. AJ Perkins, an energy expert, he put it really well when he said, microgrids are not just about resilience, they're about reimagining our entire energy landscape.
I like that. So what's the catch? There's got to be a downside, right?
Well, the main challenge is the upfront cost.
Right.
Adding a battery to your solar system, it's a significant investment.
Of course.
But, and this is good news, there are some really excellent financial incentives.
Oh, I like it.
To help offset those costs.
Wait, what kind of incentives?
California has this program. It's called the Self-Generation Incentive Program, SGIP.
Okay.
And it offers rebates for homeowners, businesses, whoever installs battery storage.
Yeah.
You could get thousands of dollars back depending on the system, eligibility, all that.
So with those rebates, the battery doesn't sound quite as expensive.
Right. And on top of that, there are also federal tax credits for solar and battery systems, so you save even more.
So NEM 3.0, it might seem like a setback for solar, but actually it's creating an even bigger opportunity, at least for those who, embrace solar plus storage.
That's a really good way to put it. It's pushing us toward more energy independence,
Yeah.
relying less on the traditional power grid and more on, our own resources.
Right.
And that's where microgrids come in.
Okay, let's talk about microgrids. Now, I've heard that term a lot, but I'm not entirely sure I get it. What is a microgrid?
So a microgrid is basically a self-contained energy system,
Okay.
and it can operate independently of the main grid.
So like a mini power grid just for like my house or business.
Precisely. It usually has solar panels, battery storage, and other components that let it, generate, store, and manage energy locally.
That's pretty amazing. Can homeowners actually have their own microgrids?
Absolutely. And it's getting, easier and easier all the time.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Under NEM 3.0, a solar plus storage system is like already acting like a mini microgrid. It's generating its own power, storing it,
Yeah.
operating somewhat independently already.
Okay, so with a few tweaks, you can turn that into a full-blown microgrid,
Exactly. It's all about, taking control.
creating a more resilient system.
Right. A more sustainable system.
I'm kind of excited about this.
You too. It's pretty amazing. And it's not just for homes. Think about entire communities powered by microgrids, sharing energy,
Hmm.
creating a much more reliable energy infrastructure.
Now, that is a cool vision for the future of energy, at least here in California.
It is, and it's a vision that is becoming more and more, well, achievable.
Yeah.
California is a leader in renewable energy, and with programs like NEM 3.0 and the California Microgrid Incentive Program, the state's really encouraging this. They want people to develop and adopt microgrids.
So what would you say are like the key takeaways for our listeners?
I would say if you're considering solar, don't let NEM 3.0 scare you.
Right.
It might actually be the perfect time to think bigger.
Yeah.
Explore solar plus storage and, yeah, even microgrids.
Wow, we've gone from like, is solar dead to, whoa, microgrids are cool. Pretty fast here. That's a lot to take in. What's like the thing that really stands out to you about all this?
I think for me, it's the empowerment, right? It's not just saving money, although, that's great.
Right.
But it's about having more control. You're choosing where your energy comes from. You're more resilient, when the power goes out, which, let's face it, happens.
It does.
And you're contributing to like a cleaner grid. So it's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah, it's like, instead of feeling kind of helpless
Right.
with these big utility companies and these crazy energy costs, now we've got options.
Exactly. You're not just stuck. You're not just, using energy. You're making it. You're managing it.
Yeah.
You're like part of the solution.
Okay, so let's like bring it down to earth for a second.
Sure.
For everyone listening who's thinking, okay, this sounds great in theory, but how does this actually work in real life?
Yeah.
Right? So like, let's say I'm a homeowner, I'm in California. What does my, energy life actually look like? Like with NEM 3.0 and this whole microgrid thing.
Okay, so picture this. You've got solar panels, on your roof, California sunshine, they're soaking it up. While that's happening, you're generating that clean energy, your battery's charging up, ready to be your like backup power source.
Okay, so let's say, the grid goes down.
Yeah.
We've got those, public safety power shutoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Those are happening more and more here,
Yeah.
with wildfires and everything. So my lights stay on, my fridge keeps running. I can still make coffee in the morning.
You got it. Your microgrid keeps everything humming. No more sitting in the dark. No more like throwing out all the food in your fridge.
So that's peace of mind right there.
It is.
Okay, but what about when the grid's up and running? Like, how am I using this microgrid to actually save money, with NEM 3.0?
Right. So remember those time of use rates?
Yeah.
So let's say it's a hot summer evening.
Yeah.
Everyone's blasting their AC. Grid's under stress. Energy prices are through the roof.
Yeah.
But instead of pulling that expensive energy from the grid, you're running your home on the power you stored in your battery back when the rates were low.
So I'm like dodging those crazy peak charges.
Exactly. Lowering your electric bill.
Nice.
And if you've got, even more energy stored, you can sell some of it back, like we were saying, at that higher price. You could even make a little profit.
Okay, this is making a lot more sense now. But I think a lot of people listening are thinking, like, is this really possible for, the average person? Like, isn't a microgrid just for, like, rich people?
I get it. It seems fancy. But it's becoming more and more affordable.
Right.
And remember those financial incentives. And of course, you have to factor in, the long-term savings.
Yeah.
And your house is worth more, because you've got this.
So it's more like an investment, not just a, big expense.
That's a good way to think about it. And, A.J. Perkins, he always has such a great way of putting things. He said, in the world of energy, microgrids are the bridge between what we've always known and what we've always dreamed possible.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it is.
So we're bridging that gap, right?
Right.
Between relying on this, like, big, centralized, often unreliable grid
Yeah.
and having more control, more resilience, our own clean energy. It's pretty exciting.
It's really cool. And it's not just about, one house at a time.
Right.
Think about, whole communities.
Okay, so let's, like, zoom out for a minute. Big picture. What does this mean for, California? What could happen with all these microgrids popping up?
Well, imagine a neighborhood, right? A bunch of houses have microgrids.
Okay.
They can connect. They can share energy.
Yeah.
And you create this, like, network. It's way more reliable.
Wow.
They don't have to depend on the main grid as much, which helps everyone, really.
So instead of everyone needing power from the grid, like, all at once, you've got these little, like, self-sufficient pockets.
Yeah.
They can help each other out.
It's more, distributed, more democratic.
I like that.
And it's not just neighborhoods. Think about, schools, hospitals, businesses,
Wow.
all becoming more resilient, more sustainable with their own microgrids.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful vision.
It is, and it's becoming reality right here in California.
So while there are some challenges, the upfront costs, we got to educate people, make them aware,
Hmm.
but it seems like the future of energy here, it's pretty bright.
It's really exciting, and it's a future that, we can all help build.
Okay, so before we wrap up this part of the deep dive, you mentioned, we got to educate people, raise awareness. What can people do? Like if they're listening to this, they're interested, they're like, okay, this microgrid thing, I want to know more. How do I figure out if it's right for me?
Well, first, do your research.
Okay.
There's so much information online.
Yeah.
The California Public Utilities Commission, CPUC, their website's great. They have tons of info on NEM 3.0, microgrids, all the incentives.
So the CPUC, they're like the official, I don't know, the rule makers when it comes to energy in California.
Yeah, you could say that. So they've got the straight facts.
Okay.
And it's good to understand, the rules of the game.
All right, so CPUC for the official stuff. What about resources that are like more for regular people? Homeowners, businesses?
Oh, yeah, the California Solar and Storage Association, CSA.
Okay.
They're great, really big advocates for, solar and storage.
Right.
And their website is amazing. Tons of resources. They even have like a list of qualified installers.
That's super helpful because finding the right installer,
Hmm.
someone who's experienced, you trust them, that's got to be like step one, right?
It's huge. You don't want to just pick someone randomly.
Right.
Do your research, get a few different quotes, make sure you're comfortable with whoever you choose. Look at their experience, their track record.
Okay, so CPUC, CLSA, then find a good installer. What else should people keep in mind?
Ask questions, lots of them.
Okay.
The more you know, right, about the technology, the costs, the benefits, the better.
Yeah, it's like anything else.
It is.
You got to do your homework.
Right. This is a big decision
Yeah.
financially and just for your, energy future.
Now, we've talked a lot about the technical side of microgrids, but you mentioned earlier, there's this whole community aspect.
Yeah.
It seems like microgrids can be so much more than just, each person being energy independent.
Oh, absolutely. It's about resilience, sustainability, creating a fairer system for everyone.
Right.
And A.J. Perkins, he said it perfectly, I think. In the world of energy, microgrids are the bridge between what we've always known and what we've always dreamed possible.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to put it, a bridge to a better future.
It is. Imagine communities coming together, sharing what they have, building these incredible microgrid networks.
Yeah.
Stronger, more reliable.
It's like taking our energy future into our own hands.
Exactly. Building a system that works for us, not just the big companies.
Yeah.
That's something worth fighting for.
So it sounds like, yeah, we've got some challenges, but
Yeah.
overall, California's energy future, it's pretty bright.
It's really promising. And we can all be part of it.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of the deep dive, you talked about those resources, the CPUC, CLSA, finding a good installer. What else? What other steps can people take? Like they're ready to dive in, what should they do?
Well, the next step is, really understand the technology, get into the nitty-gritty.
All right, welcome back to the Microgrid Minute. We've been talking about NEM 3.0, solar plus storage, and of course, microgrids.
It's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
But now we want to make sure you've got the info you need to make, good decisions.
Yeah, give you the tools to actually make this happen. Because it's one thing to talk about it, it's another to, actually take that leap.
So if someone's listening, they're intrigued, they're thinking, okay, microgrid, maybe this is for me.
Hmm?
Where do they start?
Well, first, learn, learn, learn.
Okay.
Seriously. The more you know, the better. Especially in this, this whole energy world. Things are changing so fast.
So where should people go for, good information? What are the best resources?
The CPUC, California Public Utilities Commission, their website is a great place to start.
Okay.
They've got all the details on NEM 3.0, microgrid policies, the incentives that are available here in California.
So the CPUC, they're like the rule makers.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so good for the official word.
Exactly. You get the straight facts from them.
What about resources that are more consumer friendly?
Yeah.
For homeowners, businesses, regular people.
Oh, CSA for sure. The California Solar and Storage Association.
Yeah.
They're a great resource. They're huge supporters of the whole solar and storage industry.
Right.
And their website is awesome. Tons of information. And they have a directory. You can actually find installers there.
That's really helpful because I think, Finding the right installer, that's probably the most important thing, right?
Right. It's huge. You want someone you can trust, someone with experience. Don't just go with, the first company you find on Google.
Right.
Get a few quotes, check them out, make sure they really know what they're doing.
All right, so CPUC,
Yeah.
CCLSA, good installer. Anything else we should keep in mind?
Ask questions, don't be shy. The more you understand, the better about the tech, the cost, all of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big decision.
It is. For your finances, for your energy, everything. So yeah, get all the info you can.
Now, we talked earlier about, the whole community aspect of this. It seems like microgrids can be more than just like me having power when the grid goes down.
Oh, way more.
Right. Like it feels bigger than that.
It is. It's about resilience for everyone, making things more sustainable.
Yeah.
And, A.J. Perkins said it really well. In the world of energy, microgrids are the bridge between what we've always known and what we've always dreamed possible.
It's like, yeah, a bridge to a better future.
Exactly. Imagine like communities working together, sharing their resources, creating these amazing microgrid networks.
Yeah.
More reliable, stronger, just better for everyone.
So it's like we're taking control,
Yeah.
building a system that works for us, not just like the big companies.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, so as we wrap up the Microgrid Minute, what's like the one message you want people to remember?
Don't just think solar plus storage plus microgrids. That's the future, especially here in California. Check out those resources, find some good microgrid pros to help you, and yeah, take control. It's exciting.
It's time to build that bridge.
It is.
A brighter, more resilient future. Thanks for listening to the Microgrid Minute.